Let's actually have, if you could all please turn your video on. Let's have a picture at least. That way you will turn your videos on. If you could all please turn your videos on, we can have a group picture. So finally, now see picture ke naam pe everyone is turning their videos on. I've also clicked. I'll share it on my LinkedIn very soon.
So, ma'am, as I was telling you that we have created a healthy platform where we organize such sessions. For example, last month we had a session which was dedicated on interview preparation. So this time we thought it will be really interesting to, we named it as Busting GDPI Myths, so that we can actually talk about the myths that is around the whole preparation of GDPI. And in the form we have included, we have included an option where they can ask questions. So I'll take those questions. Otherwise, live also, whatever audience we can collect and whatever good questions come in, we can take them in between. So I'll start with ma'am's introduction. The speaker we have has over 5 years of experience in various facets of learning and development, people management, content creation, and academic training. Ma'am's training program offers audience a unique blend of training, mentoring, and coaching. With her current stint as a senior trainer at ITM Group of Institutes, ma'am aims to bridge the gap between institute and industry by building an intensive, integrated training program. She is successful in delivering powerful training programs that are memorable and initiate a paradigm shift in the participant's mindset. She believes in experiential learning, encourages creative thinking, and practices mindfulness. She holds a master's in business administration degree from IBS Hyderabad and a master's in English literature from Barkatullah University. She firmly believes that when learning is fun, retention is more.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and meet all of you. So, as I think I've been told, let's keep this session as interactive and as engaging as possible, because the more we talk, the more once people speak, the better off it is at every go. Also, one more thing, given it's an online session, I would love to see all of you. So, if you could please turn your video on, and it's absolutely okay if you're not wearing formals, that's fine. But uh, let's just get to see each other. That's the beauty of virtual platform. So I hope this presentation is visible. You know my name already. I'm Professor Sadaf Tahir. I work with ITM Business School, which is in Navi Mumbai, the flagship campus of ITM. Given a little bit of time, we can talk more about the institute and what is it that it offers. But as of now, the topic that we're going to discuss at hand is busting away GDPI myths. And that's one of the most crucial topics given the current placement season that we have to discuss, that you're all students, and these are rounds that, you like it or not, you will have to face it if you want to be placed with a company that you would like to work for, because these are rounds that each one of you would face: an aptitude test, moving on to a GD, then of course moving on to a PI round, and there could be multiple PI rounds too if possible. So let's talk about first, what is it, are some of the areas that people think are true about group discussion and PI, and then probably you could move to what is it that you could do to improve and to really excel when it comes to performing in both of these areas of group discussion as well as PI. But before I begin, I would really want to know, what is it that you expect from this session that we have for about an hour. So tell me, what are your expectations before I tell you what is it that we will discuss about. So you could unmute yourself and speak.
I would like to speak first. Personally, I've done my MBA from IIM Rohtak, and back then, when I was preparing, GDPI was something which was the most challenging part, because preparing for an exam and preparing for an interview is completely different.
Yep.
So, at my time, I could not have such great webinars, but I think it was the interviews. When I gave couple of interviews, that was when I really started to think what is working and what is not.
Right.
So
The idea is, give more interviews. The more interviews and the more session and the more practice that you do, the better off one would be. Yep, definitely. Anyone else? So we are told, I'm sure this is live, right? And there are a couple of people who are watching us, given that there are 15 excluding me, 14 people. If there are zero expectations from the session, then we could be done in about 5 minutes. How is it possible that you are attending a webinar and you don't
Hello.
have any expectations from it?
Let's start with Krishna.
Uh,
Yes.
so basically, I'm giving. We are having a lot of interviews. Everyone sitting over here is have to face some of the interviews, and many are already over. So basically, what my question is, the type of questions that I received from the interviewers were uh, very varying. It was not a very stringent thing, and it was varying interviewer to interviewer. And some of them directly went on to the questions, and some asked for an intro, and then some checked my general knowledge, and some checked my personal skills.
So
So
the idea is
basically,
which one to how do you go about, because the interviewer questions keep on being really different every time.
yes, it keeps on changing. And basically, what are they looking for? As an interviewer, you can as an interviewer,
You
you
don't
can
know what
actually
is in the.
tell what are
Got
the
it.
qualities that is
They're
looked
looking
for
for.
in an interview.
Thank you, Krishna. I think that's a very good question. I'll take care of it at the end.
Okay.
Anyone else? And the entire session would answer that part of yours. Anyone else? So we have Gautam, Shivam, Manasvi, Shelly, Tamanna, Ratika. No questions or no expectations.
Before, I would like to congratulate, first of all, Krishna to actually switch on the video, discuss his question. That shows that he's actually attending the webinar to learn something. So even if you feel like, you just want to comment, that is always there. You can always chat. In chat, you can tell us your question. But this is the time to face the camera. This is, if you, if you help me, encourage me, then maybe me and ma'am can conduct a live GD right here. So you have to be comfortable with video and at least keep talking to us so that we also kind of educate you today in this 1 hour.
And given the fact that your GDs and PI would be online, the more you practice, the better of in a position you will be. So, for example, right now I could say that your angle, Krishna, is absolutely right. But when you go for a final interview, you have to be really well groomed in terms of shave and even in terms of your hair. So, see, all these are a little bit of cues that I could give away. So, the
Hmm.
more you face the camera, the better off position you will be when it comes to your final interview. So, please don't be camera conscious or be camera shy. The more you face the camera, better off position you will be when you go for your final virtual interviews. So I hope slowly and steadily all of you would turn your videos on. And given that there was only one question expectation, let's proceed very, very quickly. This is what I expect. See, I have a lot of expectations. I'm a human being. So a few ground rules that I would really like all of you to follow are these. Please don't hide behind the camera. Turn your video on. Let us see your beautiful face. Don't hide behind the camera at all times. That is one ground rule. Be on mute when you're not speaking. Let's just follow that for a seamless session. You have a question, please use the raise hand feature. Ask as many questions as possible. No one is, don't think that the question is silly. Feel free to ask as many questions. Interrupt me if you want to, and you can ask questions by using the raise hand feature, and use the chat box if you don't use the chat box pretty well, and participate as much as possible. That's going to really help. Okay, so let's move on. There's a picture right here. What does this picture represent to you? I would really love to hear some responses. If you want to use the chat box, you can use that as well. Or if you want to speak, you can unmute yourself and speak as well. What do you think this picture represents, or what, according to you, this means?
It basically means supporting for further progress or bridging the gap.
Okay, I think that's great, Krishna. Bridging the gap, absolutely. Okay, anything else? Anyone? Anyone else who would want to give it a go? That's exactly bridging the gap. Okay.
I'll give it a try. I think, ma'am, the support is talking about mentorship, maybe someone helping the other to cross the path, maybe.
Definitely, I think all your answers are correct. It Here it actually does talk about bridging the gap. I hope the screen is completely visible. Bridging the gap, and if you look at this, the people who are attending this webinar, they're all students, if I'm not wrong, right? And we have a good amount of people with us here right now. And what it does is it's a bridge, and all of you are right now in the middle of it, and you want to cross that bridge. It's the way from campus to corporate. You're all in your college life right now, and you aim to get the placement of your dreams, to get the college of your dreams. And this is the bridge that you right in the middle, and with the help of the knowledge, with the help of skills, with the help of your trainers, you would bridge that gap that you have, and you will eventually reach your final goal. And this session that we're doing here right now is one way to bridge that gap. The gap that we have, it can be in terms of skills, it can be in terms of soft skills, hard skills, it could be in terms of knowledge. And with the help of this support from either mentors from a college, you could reach from point A to point B, uh, the place that you really want to achieve when it comes to the job or when it comes to a profile. So let's talk about the processes first, that a lot of people have to face when it comes to your aptitude test, or when it comes to your final placement. So when it comes to any placement, there are always generically there are three things that you have to face. First being the aptitude test, which is the written test before anything happens. Once you clear that aptitude test, which of course tests you on quantitative reasoning, on verbal, on logical reasoning, then of course comes your GD. And for a lot of companies, there are either one round or there are two rounds. It could even be an extempore round. And then of course you move to PI. So before we move to PI, there are a lot of myths that people have when it comes to a group discussion round, and that's when the first myth comes into picture. And that myth is that the more I will speak, the more are my chances of clearing the interview or clearing this GD. And as the name suggests, it's a myth. It's a big myth that a lot of people have, that the more and more I speak, the more are my chances. No, it's not. um, when it comes to a group discussion, many a times, even if you speak once, but if you speak a point which is relevant, which no other person has talked about, it's a quality point, you will be through with the GD round. Okay, let me give you an example. Let's say that the group discussion topic that you get is coronavirus impact on the Indian economy. Okay, now a lot of people, let's say, talked about in terms of how COVID has really impacted uh, uh, the Indian economy, the sector. But and you give out facts and details and numbers, but there is someone who actually talked about how COVID sector has really impacted the edtech sector, how COVID-19 has really changed the way we look at recruitment. That's a completely new point no one talked about in the GD. And you spoke once, you gave a lot of quality inputs, you will be through, because you actually drove the GD and you gave it quality inputs that no one was thinking about. So the idea is that given quality points, bring in fresh points instead of repeating things that have already been spoken about. So the idea that the more I speak, the more are my chances, it's a big time myth that a lot of people have. And that brings us to myth number two, which is dominating the discussion, not allowing other people to speak and interrupting them over and over. And once you do that, that showcases that it's the same approach you use when you work. Now, please understand, why is it that GDs are done? It's not just to see you whether you know it or not, but GDs are conducted to even test you on your skills. Now, what are the skills that recruiters are looking for when they are conducting your GD? They're looking whether you have teamwork ability or not. Because a GD is in a group, it's not a one to one activity which is there for a PI. So they're looking whether you can work in a team, because eventually, once you join a company, you'd not be working alone, you'd be working with a team. And they're looking whether you can work in a team. Do you have appropriate communication skills? Can you convey your point to a team full of 8 10 people and make them agree to what you've said? So persuasion skills. Can you accept what others are saying instead of just saying what you have? All these are skills that is being checked. Do you have quick thinking? Do you have knowledge of facts, figures, and numbers? Are you well read? All these are qualities and skills that are being checked in a GD. Please understand, it's not just an elimination round. It is a round to check you on your communication, on your skills, on your teamwork, on your ability to work with people, on your ability to make them agree to what you've said, on your ability to make them see your side of things. All these are qualities that are being checked. And if you keep on dominating the GD and you don't allow anyone else to speak, that showcases that you have no respect for other people, and you will do the same thing when it comes to your work. So it's a myth that people have, that I should not allow anyone to speak, or I should be aggressive. That brings us to uh, GD myth 3, which is this, which is aggression is good. No, it's not. It's not at all. And a lot of people do the same thing in PI as well, which is again one PI myth, that oh, what's your weakness? I have aggression issues. So saying something like that is again a wrong answer that a lot of people give to PI questions. So please avoid showing aggression in a GD as well. Also, one extra power tip that I could give you is this, because this is something I've noticed a lot. There was this one campus drive wherein a student who did not speak at all, 0 point, he was selected for the PI round. Okay. And then there was another recruitment drive where a student who was not actually allowing anyone to speak, he actually got through. Now you might think that this is really contradictory. What is happening? What's going on? Now this is a power tip here for all of you. Always look at the profile that is coming for placement. Okay. Look at what is the role, what are the qualities that that profile requires. If that profile requires one to be really aggressive, then drive your GD. Not, I'm not say aggressive as in shouting people, but try and speak at least 3 to 4 times to show that you really know, without being disrespectful to anyone. But if that GD requires someone which deals with a lot of customers and it requires you to hear things a lot, not speak more, listen more, be quiet. Not completely quiet, but listen more. Sum things up in the right way. Be more calm, be more patient in your approach. So, drive your GD as per the profile that is coming to visit you for placement. And that is a power tip that I could give you, all of you right now, right here. I hope it's making a lot of sense. If you have any questions with respect to whatever that we've discussed, please ask.
One thing that I also had in on my mind was, sometimes we see that the role of moderation in a GD comes through, and a lot of times it is considered that if you're moderating the GD, then you're definitely going to get through. Is it correct?
If you start the GD, is that?
No, if you actually moderate, like, trying to highlight who is saying what, and shush someone, and
That's
act
again
like
a
a
myth.
moderator.
That's again a myth that people have. And usually, if you look at it, moderating GD is not something which is really a person's role when you're going for placements. No, if one has to moderate the GD or one needs interruption, that is something that recruiters would do. You don't have to do that as a participant. Your work, your job there is to put forth your point in the best possible manner and drive the GD in the right direction by bringing in new points, not by literally moderating the GD. That is not the work that you've been asked to do there. They want to check you on your skills. One thing again that I'd like to talk or highlight here is that the person who starts the group discussion starts, of course you do get brownie points for it, I'm not denying that fact. Okay. But please understand, the onus also lies on you, because you are starting the GDs, the second or the third person would take feed from you. So if you get that right, no matter there are brownie point. But if you get that wrong, the responsibility lies on your shoulders and on your head, because you put it in the wrong direction. So until and unless you are absolutely 100% sure on your facts, on your knowledge, please don't start the GD. And if you're sure and confident, there's no harm in it. Okay, if you're sure with your numbers, you've written down your points correctly, feel free and start the GD. Definitely there are brownie points to it. But my personal advice, if you don't know if you're not very sure of the initial how to start, be the second or the third person to speak. Because later, if you prolong it even more, the competition would rise and you would not have more than 10 to 15 minutes. So be the ideally the second or the third speaker. After that, the competition to speak would be even more. Number one. Number two, by the time you want to say something, probably your point would already be gone. So don't take that chance. Okay, so be the third or the second speaker. That should be good enough for all of you. Uh,
Krishna, do you have questions? You can ask, ma'am.
any questions, anyone?
Okay, then I'll ask. Ma'am, what if you don't have any knowledge about the GT topic? Because it usually happens when I get a topic of politics, I have no idea how to frame my response.
Now, see, there are two things. Thank you for that question. I think that's a brilliant question. Now, there are two things. Let's take the fact that you don't know about the topic at all, zero, blank knowledge. Okay, in that case, you are already down, the morale is already over, that I don't know anything, my chances are gone. That is already a myth that a person has, that okay, now I don't know the topic, what would I do? I will not really get through. Now please know that when you have nothing to lose, you're the most powerful at that point of time. So don't interrupt a speaker at that point of time. Listen to at least four or five people in that case, and make notes. So also please understand, when I'm saying making notes, don't just keep on scribbling, because recruiters are noticing that thing as well, and they would know that you don't know it. So one or two keywords. So from every points that are being spoken of, take the most important points, create keywords, one or two notes, just three or four words from every pointer, from every speaker. Then sum it up accordingly, and then give your opinion. Sum up whatever has been spoken as the fifth or the sixth speaker, the points that have already been spoken so far, by paraphrasing it. And then give your opinion. Don't just sum it up by saying either positive or negative, by giving your 2 cents to it. Because then, understand, when there are people who are moderating who are actually looking at the GD, they will know that this person does not know. So don't just stop by summarizing. Give your 2 cents to it. Give your opinion as to what is it that you think after hearing everything that has been spoken about. One again technique that I could tell you is the pestle technique. Let's say you don't know anything about the topic, okay, and you've heard people. Now, once you've heard, relate it to pestle. Anyone, any idea what is pestle? PESTEL. Political, economical, social, technological, then environmental, legal. Okay. Now, whatever the topic is, you can relate any topic with this pestle technique, with one or two of them, and then give your opinion. Okay, what is, I hope you heard me till pestle. I was muted. Right.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
whatever the topic was, relate it with any of the pestle factors. That could really help. Relate it with how this topic is good for the economy, with international relations. I'm sure you will get some of the other points. That is one thing that you can do. So that is one way out when you don't know about the topic. Let's say you have a slight bit of idea about the topic, okay, not much. In that case, obviously you cannot really start the GD. But then, in if that is the case, what you do is, you've already written down your points. Be ideally the second or the third speaker, given your inputs before it runs out. Don't delay it. At least you will have some chance. And once you get one or two points from a new speaker, try and elaborate on it. Reason being, I would not ask you to give up at that point of time. You never know. So even if you don't know the topic, I have told you what to do. I would not advise any student to give up and not speak a word if he or she does not know about the topic at all. Okay, that is something that one thing I'd like to tell you. One more thing again, uh, as someone I'd like to tell you is, don't ever summarize or sum up the GD or conclude the GD until and unless the recruiter asks you to do that. It's a lot of students have seen doing that. Once the GD is, they don't know what to speak. One other person or student says that, all right, so to conclude, have they asked you for conclusion? Until and unless the recruiter asks you to conclude, it is not your job. They want you to continue this discussion. And if you use the word conclusion, that's a sign that you are out of ideas and you're out of points, which means you're not well read. Okay, everyone getting it? I don't know. It's all quiet. Could you all please turn your video on? Say something. I feel as if everyone is sleeping here.
Ma'am, you know what? Personally, I feel we conduct webinars almost every week, and either it is the fact that they've given a lot of interviews, and maybe they're bogged down or something like that. But there is something that guys are not interacting. So I really want कि मैम को थोड़ा हम अच्छा feel कराएं. We ask good intelligent questions. Otherwise, we three
Have
are
a
going to
good.
have the session.
There's actually one presentation that I have. I've reshared the presentation. Let me very quickly. So there is this. This is the one. Yep. Let me share this one. Probably you will get some new pointers from this. So I actually had two presentations. So this is also one of the presentation that I had, wherein talk about sort of an elimination round. And see, look at these are the three C's that for any GD you'll be really assessed upon: your content, your communication, and your confidence level. So when you are a part of a GD, always ensure that you have enough knowledge, you give out as many facts and figures as possible, and listen, because only once you listen you'll be able to give out new points too and relate it with a topic. Recruiters are checking your communication for sure in a GD, not just one that you speak, but your non-verbal, your body language. And given it's an online session, they would want you to turn your cameras on and they would want you to speak as well. They also check you on your reasoning. So if you're refuting someone, disagreeing with a point, what is the reason you're giving? So it's not just how good you are with communication. Let's say you say that demonetization was a wrong step or bad move. So if you're saying that, what is the idea or reason behind it? Or if you're saying it's a good move, what is your reasoning behind it? So no matter how impeccable your communication is, if it does not have the right logic, it's not going to make sense. And how can it make the right logic once you give out facts, figures, and numbers? The better your numbers, the more are your chances of getting or acing the GT. Of course, when it comes to the third part, which is the third C, communication, they're checking your maturity level. And when recruiters give a controversial GD, they want to see your maturity level. Can you handle a controversial topic? They're checking you how you are in a group, your dynamics. They're checking if the GD is drifted away. Can you really bring it back on the track? Because a lot of times group discussions tend to sway away. So can you bring it back to the discussion? All these are things that recruiters check. When it comes to group discussion types, there are four different types of GDs. One is a factual GD. See, I have an example right here, something like coronavirus. What do you think was the impact on the economy? They want you to discuss. It's an abstract GD wherein they ask you about topics like, okay, black, speak about curtain, door, green, air. These are all abstract GD topics. They require you to be more creative in your approach. Controversial GD. Now, this is exactly where, if it's a controversial topic, they intentionally give you topics like this because they want to check, are you an aggressive person? If you fall into a situation which requires you to be really emotionally intelligent, can you handle that? And if the job requires someone to be really, if it's a lot of pressure centric job, recruiters would give you a controversial GD topic to check whether you can handle stress or not. That is the idea behind a controversial GD topic. And the 4 GD topic is a case based that you really require to do well in this part. So this is what, when it comes to any group discussion, all these elements are always there, and these are the ones. So when someone, it's the one person who actually initiates the GD. That's the first time when the group GD opens. Okay, that is one, which is always there in any GD. Then, of course, the next part is the start. So even if it's the second or the third speaker, it's the first time that you are starting. So how do you start? Your start. Okay. The third element is, of course, when people give out numbers, justification, or new information. That is again one element which should be a part of any GD. The next element is when you agree with someone. So that is something that we're going to discuss. How do you do that? When you disagree with someone, how do you do that? And when, of course, when you have to conclude the GD or end it, how do you do that? So we're going to discuss very quickly and in brief all these inputs and pointers as to how one can really work on the elements of GD discussion. Okay. So to talk about how to initiate your own GD or how to start your own GD, these are the approaches that you can use. You can either start with a quote, okay, or you can start with a definition. Let's say if it's a topic which is a bit technical, okay, you can start with a definition without laying the foundation for a topic, without defining what it means. There's no point in straight away indulging. Let's say, for example, demonetization. It's a technical term. Define the word demonetization, then begin. What you're doing as a speaker when you're starting, you are laying the foundation, and that is crucial. Before you give out it was good, it was bad, so please understand that. You could start with a rhetorical question. So a rhetorical question is the question which needs no answer. The answer is obvious. Okay. That is a rhetorical question. Then you could start with a shock statement. So let's say the topic is COVID-19. Start by giving a number. 65 point, just a random number, 6.7 million people within the 3 month of time span lost their jobs because of COVID. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Our topic that we're discussing today is this. So you're starting with that shock statement and you're giving out that number. That is what will really differentiate you and set you apart. You can even start with a fact or a figure or a very generic statement. So all these are various, some really cool ways which can really enhance your GD if you start by these different ways.
Ma'am, on this point, I want to ask that if in case you are not sure about the numbers, but you have a fair idea, right? So,
Use the
is it
word ballpark. Use the word ballpark in that case. So don't give out a wrong number. Give a range then. So a ballpark. Use the word ballpark or give the range, because it did happen. I remember it very correctly. One of the student, the topic was something related to demonetization, and she quoted a wrong statistic. Immediately, the second person countered it. So the idea is never give out a number of which you're not sure, because if you get it right, that's okay. But if you get it wrong, immediately you will be countered. You will not be left behind because the person got a chance to speak. So until unless you're 100% sure of the number, don't give it. If you're not sure, give a ballpark range. That can work. I hope I've answered your question.
yes, ma'am.
Great. Another way is when you're agreeing with someone. So use these statements. I talked about something that could really help your GD is your communication. So these are a few statements that you could use instead of just using the term, okay, I agree with what you've said. A better way is, as a matter of fact, you repeat what I've said. It's said right by saying that whatever the term is. Another way is I second you on that. That is again one way of saying I agree with what you've said. You want to add, so you agree with someone that demonetization, let's say, was a good or bad step, or COVID-19 has really helped the edtech sector. But again, it has helped, but there's something new more you want to add. So instead of just saying I agree, so say that, adding to your point, immediately, you're saying something new to what has been spoken. I have to side you on this one. Again, that's a brilliant phrase that you can add. Apart from the fact that, again, there's something more that I would want to add. So these are some really good phrases and starters that you could use to enhance your participation in a GD. And these are the terms that you could really use when you're speaking, because it's not just what you speak, but how you speak. That really creates a difference. Now, when you're disagreeing with someone, that has to be dealt with even more politely and carefully. So, just by saying you're wrong or this does not make sense, that showcases that you could not be a team leader, because people would be wrong, but there's a way of saying it. So, you have to be even more careful when you're saying that someone is wrong. And these are the ways which you could say it. So instead of saying you are wrong, you're saying my take is. That means eventually आप ये मान रहे हो that okay you're not agreeing, but you're saying that you are not wrong. I'm saying that this is what I feel, this is what I believe. So in a way you are saying that you don't agree. Or another way is I partially agree that demonetization did help correct the economy, but there was a lot of cons to it as well. So you've agreed to this point that this was what it did, but again there were a few cons. So just one way to, though I agree with the fact that the Me Too movement did create a lot of awareness, but I have to say that then again you're saying something negative. So I'm just giving you a lot of examples that you could use. With due respect, I believe that it'd be wrong to say that demonetization was completely a negative move. It did bring about some positive changes to the economy as well. So when someone is completely in a disagreement, you are saying that it'd be completely wrong to say, and then you're bringing in a fresh point. Again, in my opinion, my point of view or my take differs. So again, these are some really good terms that you could use when you're disagreeing with someone without being disrespectful, and by giving due attention, and by paying a lot of respect to the other party. Another Also one more thing I would like to say here. A lot of people do this mistake, and I know it's sort of unintentional. People tend to point when they're going for GD. Please don't do that. It's highly disrespectful, and it's considered really rude when you point at someone. So even if you have a pen in your hand, so don't do that. It's just, I know it's unintentional, but please don't do that. Avoid it completely. It shows that it shows aggression. So kindly refrain from pointing, saying that okay you're wrong. Rather have open palms. Okay, you can use your hand this way, but never ever point. That is one way. And when you're trying to conclude, you can use all these phrases there again, that we had a great group discussion, and as a group we evaluated that whatever that you want to say. Multiple points were brought in the group discussion, of course, and then you are reiterating very quickly what was said. Another way, which is again something I really enjoy and brilliant, is a rhetorical question, and a shock statement. You start with a shock, you end with a stock, or you start with a rhetorical question that really adds a lot of value if you could use either of these techniques to end the GD as well as to start the GD, because people tend to remember how you started and how you finished. That's the most principle of recency and the principle of beginning. So try and follow these techniques. Again, these are some do's and don'ts that all of you have to take care of when you're going for a group discussion. Always respect the other speaker. Make sure that you're well read. Topics like these, for example, Joe Biden, Trump versus Joe Biden, coronavirus, rise of edtech sector, Reliance Geo. All these are some really new and bustling topics that you have to be truly, truly prepared. Work from home versus, work from office. So these are some topics that you have to be really ready and be prepared with. The new normal after the COVID-19. So whatever is going, the farmers protest without a speck of doubt, the pros and cons. So whatever is going on in the economy and the country, we are going through so much as a country, a lot. You have to know about it, and there's no excuse of not reading it. And again, too much speaking can hamper your chance of selection. I've told you, it's a myth. The more you speak, the more your chances. We've talked about it. And please refrain from shouting in a GD. Again, this is one thing. Always have a positive body language. Sit straight. If it's a virtual GD, something that we do a lot as part of, I'd like to share. So as part of the ITM curriculum, something that we really, really follow is we follow multiple GD practices and rounds. And something that we do a lot is both a mixture of online GDs as well as classroom GDs is something we've been following consistently from quite some time, because you never know. When it comes to international placements that we have had, obviously the GD rounds could not be conducted in a classroom because the recruiters were somewhere, the students were in Mumbai. So we always made sure that we prepared our students. And this was way before COVID, when technology became the new normal. We did have online GDs as part of the curriculum. So always prepare, make sure you practice, because when it comes to an online GD, the dynamics really differ. And when it comes to a classroom GD, the dynamics really differ. So make sure you're well versed with online etiquette. Like, for example, right now, the pictures that a few people have. Dimpy, I think your picture, that's not really appropriate for to have as a picture. So again, this is something that very minute things that recruiters take heed of. So make sure that your Google picture is right. If you're not turning your video on, make sure your name is spelled right. Make sure your background is clear, you are using a proper set of headphones, you have proper online etiquette. All these are things that you have to really take care of when the platform is online. The changes are even more and even more dynamic. So all these things have to be really taken care of. Try and bring in a fresh perspective, bring in new points, and that would really help your chances of acing the GD, because no one is thinking about those points. And if you could bring that topic, you speak once and you will be through, trust me on that. And if someone has spoken a good point, it's always a good idea to acknowledge them. That will showcase that you're a leader. Another big myth is a lot of people have that if I give personal examples, that will really add a lot of value. No, it will not. A lot of people said that, okay, my uncle have lost a lot of wealth in the COVID economy and he did that. Please refrain from giving personal examples in a group discussion. That does not help at all. If you want to quote facts, figures, and numbers, you have to do it on a more larger scale. In terms of a macroeconomics, quote companies. Don't quote your personal examples of your father, mother, or your uncles or aunties. Please don't do that. It's not going to help. More than the favor, it's going to go against you. So please don't quote any personal examples. And if the GD is going off the track, you can bring it back. Now when I say off the track or when someone is interrupting, it does not mean that once or twice someone got interrupted and you stop him. If someone is trying to speak and he or she got interrupted more than twice or thrice, then you stop the other person from speaking. Other than that, it's a group discussion, everyone would interrupt and speak over one another. So don't overdo it to showcase that you're a leader. It could really go against or backfire. Okay, I think we've covered that. Sorry. This was about the presentation. I would really want to share the other one and talk about what we had. So, any questions with respect to whatever we've discussed about GD so far? Anyone? I would leave the floor open to anyone if you have any questions about GD or whatever we've discussed so far.
Ma'am, this year the GDs for most of the colleges are not happening. So are the interviewers looking for this aspects through their PIs only?
I'm sorry, Krishna, to disappoint you, but a lot of colleges and a lot of companies are actually going for virtual GDs.
Okay.
In fact, initially it was thought that probably even we thought that probably recruiters would not go for a GD, but they are going for it. It's a very crucial part. In fact, initially a lot of companies went for extempore. Okay, now extempore is, you give a topic and the person speaks, but that does not really showcase how a person performs in a group. Number one. Also, it tends to be really time consuming. So
Yes.
eventually everyone is working in a group, and I would want to know how a person performs in a group, which is why it becomes even more crucial in a virtual GD to know whether how a person he or she is speaking online. And also in a virtual GD, when two or three people speak at once, it really rings in the ears compared to a classroom GD, if you've noticed that as well.
Yes.
So it becomes even more crucial that you know online etiquette and how you're going about an online GD. Reason being, a lot of meetings would be held online. So can you actually put forth your point in the most decent manner possible? That is also being checked through an online GD. So the more participation, the more online meeting etiquette, the more platforms that you use, the better acquainted you will be to face recruiters when you go for your online GD. Yep.
Thank you, ma'am.
Also, if that reminds me, a lot of recruiters, this is also one approach that they're using. So one GD is the normal GD, wherein I give a topic, you get 2 to 3 minutes to frame your points, and then everyone starts. That is one way. And then at the end, I give everyone conclusion time for 30 seconds, and then everyone concludes. That is one way, which is the normal way, which happens in a classroom setup too. Another way is a sequence based GD. So what happens in a sequence based GD is that let's say I give a topic, Okay, and all of you are a part of the GD. Okay, now what I will do is each one of you will get 40 to 50 seconds, and I would give you a sequence. Let's say Krishna, you'll be one, Abhishek, you'll be second, Dimpy, you'll be third, Harsh, you'll be fourth, and Manish, you'll be five. Now, each one of you will get only 30 or 40 to 50 seconds, and you will have to say that point. So it is sort of an extempore, but it goes in sequence. So Manish, you get 40 seconds. So Krishna, you get 40 seconds. You speak. That's it. 40 seconds are up. It goes to Abhishek next. 40 seconds. Then Dimpy, it's 40 seconds. Then Harsh, it's 40 seconds. And then Manish, it's 40 seconds. And then that's it. The GD is over. Now, there are pros and cons to this as well. The con is, see, the pro is that it goes really smoothly. There is no interruption. You're getting chance. Everyone is getting a chance. Probably in a normal GD does not really happen. I am being interrupted, and my point is not being heard. So that's a pro of a sequence based GD. The con is, by the time your chance comes, maybe your point is already spoken. Okay,
Right.
that is one con. Another con is, if you're the first person to speak and you don't know the GD topic at all, then what are you going to do? So again, that is one great con that a lot of people face. Then another thing that a lot of recruiters, a lot of students do, they're the first person they can't. A lot of students, what they do is they check things online. Okay, now please understand, it's very easy for recruiters to figure that out, because when you change your tabs, the light on the tab automatically reflects. Now just notice this. Okay, I'm going to a tab, I'm going to stop sharing the complete screen, and just notice the change of light on my face. Okay, notice this very carefully. So I have done this, and did you notice how it happened? And this is very easy to figure out. So don't think that once you start reading, recruiters would not know. Students think they're smart. Yes, you are smart. Recruiters are smarter. So please don't do these things. It's not going to help. Also, uh, if you're trying to do that, at least there has to be some paraphrasing. You can pick up points, but if you speak ditto, even they know what your communication skills are, or what content. If it's exact 1 to 100% content, the points that you're taking it from, don't you think they have access to it as well? They have the liberty to turn off the video. You don't have that. So please don't try these things. My advice to you as a trainer would be, always make sure that you're well read. You can pick up points in those 2 to 3 minutes, but pick up points only at that point of time, not during the course of the GD, would be my very strong advice to all of you. Okay, so I hope this made a lot of sense, how you go about in a sequence based GD. Any questions, anyone? Any questions, anyone? Can we proceed to PI?
Yes.
Sure, ma'am.
Okay. So when it comes to going for a personal interview, there are a few approaches that you should follow. Instead of telling you about the myths, I would like to actually share a few approaches that you should always follow. And these are a few approaches. So whenever one goes for a personal interview, once you clear the group discussion, usually the first question that is asked is, tell me something about yourself or introduce yourself. Now, please understand, that's a maker or a breaker question. There's nothing wrong with telling what your name is, where you're from, what your education is, your experience, your hobbies, extracurriculars. There's nothing wrong with this, going the same approach, whatever you've written in the GD, in the resume, sorry. There's nothing wrong, but it's boring. And as a recruiter, I've heard it thousands of times. And if you want to stand apart from hundreds of people who are being interviewed, don't do that. I'm not saying it's wrong. Okay, please, I'll repeat, I'm not saying it's wrong at all. There's nothing wrong with that approach, but it's boring. As a recruiter, I might have heard it thousands of times, and it's not something that will help you stand apart from the hundreds of people who are being interviewed for that particular role. Rather, something that works brilliantly well, yes, Dimpy, I'm about to talk about that. Something that works brilliantly well is the storytelling approach. Okay, so let me sort of give you an example. Approach 1. Sir, my name is Sadaf Tahir. I'm from Bhopal and I hold master's degree. I'm doing my MBA in marketing from ITM Business School, and I have done 5 months of internship with eClerx as a management trainee. I was working into sales and operations and even content writing for some bits and parts of it. And my hobbies are to read and to write, and XYZ, whatever. On the other hand, I say something like this. Thank you so much, sir, for giving me an opportunity to speak. My name is Sadaf Tahir, and I come from the city of lakes, that is Bhopal. From the very beginning, instead of reiterating what's already as part of my resume, rather, I would like to share a story with you while I was working as an intern with your permission. So, of course, they tell you a yes. So, sir, while I was working with eClerx as a management trainee, I've had the opportunity of working with a group, and it so happened that I had a group of 10 different people in my team, and we were working on a very crucial project, a project worth 25 lakhs that were to be done within a span of 3 months during my internship. Now, given that it was a huge revenue, all of us were allotted different tasks, but three of my team members, because of some personal reasons, they could not really contribute and do their point and do their work on time. It so happened that other team members were really they really dipped in their morale, and even they started delaying their work and dipping quality of work. It so happened, I realized this very soon, and I knew that if we don't work and complete the work on time, we are going to lose that project, and it's not something that will reflect very good on our resume and on our profile. I had a one-to-one word with all three different members of my group, and I got to know personally what was bugging them. And I solved their problems and gave them some more deadlines and gave them inputs on their project. It so happened that their problems got solved, and we as a group, we were able to submit our project 1 month before with an added revenue. And our team got the best performer of the month award for that quarter. I could very well say, sir, that from this incident, that I'm someone who has an approach of a never give up attitude. I'm a team player and I'm a people's person. So, what I've done here with this answer is I have told how I worked as a professional, and how I will work as a professional if I am hired by the role that you're offering me. Third, I have told my strengths and my skills. And that is exactly how you have to answer. So you have to share a story, and see, I've told a story, and all of you are really listening. What is that? And that is the power of storytelling. So you go into your past, think of a story, and then narrate that story, and then in the last, relate your skills, professional skills, your personal skills, what kind of a person you are, what kind of a professional you are, what kind of a professional you will be if I hire you for that particular role that I'm interviewing you for. And that is the power of storytelling. This is the approach you have to use for your strengths, for introducing yourself, and that's what exactly going to make you set you apart from the crowd. And that is exactly what is justification too. So when you write in your resume that you are a team worker, you are confident, you are a communicator, does that reflect in your work? Do you have stories and examples to prove that? So you say that, and that's exactly what justify means. Your words on the resume should justify what you're speaking in the interview. There has to be a match, and that is called as justification. So if you're saying you're confident, if you're saying you're punctual, does your answer prove that in the interview? Because interview में होता क्या है, बातें ही होती है ना, आप communicate ही कर रहे हो, और क्या होता है interview में? So if you're not able to communicate in the interview, how it's going to help you? And you have to do that. No one else is going to do that for you. So communicate. So that is one. Another thing that could really work in your favor is using numbers. Okay, quantification, that is what is the most crucial aspect of an interview. The more numbers that you could give in whatever field that you're in, the better off you are. Let's say you say that you are being interviewed for a sales profile, for example. Now, one person says that, so I'm pretty good at sales. I have negotiation skills. I'm very good at dealing with customers. And in my 5 years or in my internship period, I did pretty well. I even got awarded for being the highest seller of the month, or for consistently for 2 months. So I'm telling my awards. Now you tell me which is a better answer. The second answer. So I was working as an intern as a sales trainee for ABC company, and I was handled 5 different regions with a target of achieving 35 lakhs in a span of 5 months. I achieved my target, overachieved my target by 35%, and I achieved a revenue of this for all 5 segments in less than 2 months. I could very well say that I'm good at convincing people. I'm a great negotiator, and I'm a people's person, and I ensure that I maintain long-term relationship with my clients. And that is what is always my motive, not just to sell, but to maintain relations, which will ensure that it's not just a one-time customer, but a repeat customer. Now you tell me which one is a more effective answer, one or two?
Two.
Because it has numbers and it has skills. I'm justifying my skills. So that is a Q&J approach. Quantify, justify, that is what will make your answers effective. And that is exactly the approach you have to use when you go for interviews. So if you're not sure what recruiters are looking for, this is what you have to do. And to answer, Krishna, your question that you asked me at the beginning, you don't know because every recruiter is different. That's because they are taking your interview. You're not driving the interview. And what I mean by driving the interview, you speak and answer. Okay, let me just frame it this way. So this is a question. I'll open the question for all of you. Let's do it this way. I tell you that tomorrow is your test. Okay, I'm taking a test for all of you tomorrow. That's it. I don't tell you anything. I just tell you that tomorrow there's going to be a test. And you appear for that test and you get your marks. Situation A. Okay. Situation B. I tell you that there's going to be a test on math, on quantitative reasoning. Okay. This is the question paper. Take it. I give you the question paper. You get the same question paper in the exam tomorrow. Okay. You get the result. Which one will you score more in, A or B?
The one, of course, questions I know beforehand,
Why, Krishna?
because I'll be pre-prepared for it.
Absolutely. You'll be prepared for the questions because you'll have the answers ready. Now, the same approach you have to follow for your interview too. Now, how can you do that? Recruiters with the questions, Diania, you might ask. So I'll solve that for you. Frame an answer from which questions can be formed. So when you say an answer, recruiter, you would want recruiter to take question from that, and you will be already prepared कि हाँ मैं ये answer बोलूँगा. He will ask me this question and you will be already prepared. So you'll not be thrown off guard by these questions and you'll not be put off. And that is exactly what you'll have to do when you go for your PI. It's tough, I agree, but it's not impossible. It's a bit
Okay.
tough. And the more interviews that you give, the more real-time interviews, and see, this is exactly the approach that we follow. So what we do is, as part of the curriculum that we have as part of career management, what we do is we call in experts every Saturday, because usi din wo log free hote hain. Because you can't call in experts on a weekday, they are working. So what we do is we call in experts on every Saturday and they interview our students before they finally go for placements. So if it's a student from HR batch, we call in people who are working in HR field. If it's a marketing student, we call in marketing experts, because they'll not just ask them marketing questions, they'll even ask them HR questions. And of course, they're in the industry, they know it more. So that's exactly the approach. So every student actually goes through 4 or 5 different rounds of interviews only with experts. Of course, we take another round of interviews for them. So the idea here, what I'm trying to communicate to all of you is, give as many mock interviews as possible. Take the help of mentors. Go to the right approach that can ask you the right set of questions. And that's what's going to really help you out. Another technique that I could very quickly share here with all of you is this, the CARL technique. So CARL, anyone? Any idea what is CARL? Okay, so it's CARL stands for the CARL technique: context, action, result, and learning. So whenever you are asked a question, a situational question, tell me about a time you dealt with a difficult boss. Tell me about a time you dealt with a difficult customer. Or how would you handle pressure? Or how did you handle pressure? Tell me about a time you solved the biggest problem in the organization. These are all situation based questions. Or even talk to me about your strengths. These are all situation based questions. Every time you're asked a question, always use the CARL technique. Give the context, say the story, what action did you take, what did you achieve from that, and then what did you learn from that. And this works brilliantly well when it comes to your answers. All, and this of course will showcase your skills. Eventually, of course, that the next part comes to a positive body language, when it's more about how you say things versus what you're saying again creates a lot of difference. So have a positive body language, a smile on your face, avoid pointing fingers, look into the camera and speak if it's a virtual interview. Don't be too loud or aggressive in your approach. And these are some of the most common pointers that one needs to follow if the interview is either online or it's a physical setup. All right. Any questions, anyone so far?
Ma'am, at times they put up a lot of one-word answers like general knowledge questions. So if I don't know, there was a situation, I got a series of questions which I don't know. It happens.
Could you give me an example, Krishna? What kind of
Uh,
questions did they ask?
like from the uh, CEO of that certain company, or like the election related certain particular questions were there.
So, see, if you don't know the answer completely, ideally, there's no excuse, but that's okay. Even recruiters don't expect you to know 100% of the questions that they ask. So, if you don't know the answer completely, don't just say, "I'm so sorry, sir, I don't know." But say it this way: that I apologize, sir, I'm not very sure of the answer right now. Given a chance, I'd love to get back to you and answer the question that you've asked. Say it this way. That works better.
Okay.
Another way is, let's say you don't know the answer but you have a slight hint, or you want to guess, take a guess. So you can say that as well by saying that, so I'm not 100% sure of the answer, but I'd like to give it a go. And then what you've done is you've sort of given a disclaimer that, see, I'm not 100% sure but I'm still trying. So that is again one way out. If you know, slide have a slight bit of idea about it, so that is again one thing that you could do. Again, something that works brilliantly is, Krishna, read as much as you can. Have in shorts, work on LinkedIn. That works brilliantly well. So it's an amazing platform for you to learn some things over. I could actually tell you the potential that LinkedIn has. More than 20-25 of our students actually got placed through LinkedIn. That's how we train our students in ITN. Okay, so the more you work, they did not even need college placement. They completely got their placement by LinkedIn. That's how we train our students, and that's the kind of attention we pay to our training and to training our students when they go for jobs. So it's an amazing platform for you to not just learn but even get jobs if that's what your approach and idea is. So you can do that too. Okay.
Okay.
Another thing that I would really want all of you to know is work on your soft skills. I know we are done with time. It'll just take about a couple of minutes more. These are some of the soft skills that recruiters are looking for in the year 2021. So work on all these skill sets. They are the most crucial, because hard skills is something that the company is willing to train you on, and it's easy. But soft skills is something that takes a lot of time, and these are the skills that recruiters are looking for. And if I have to talk about one that will really help you among all this, it all boils down to communication. Because in the interview, if you want to show a recruiter that you have emotional intelligence, you have a growth mindset, you have leadership, you're adaptable, you are punctual, you are creative, how can you showcase? बात करके. और कोई वे नहीं है. So work on your communication first, everything else would follow. That would be my biggest advice to each and everyone out here. So, any questions? Okay, I have your only session time, 10 minutes. Okay, I think I've got it. Very quickly, a few more things that I'd like to. I think I've told you about. Work on your communication. Please work on your resume. It's really crucial. Make your resume as effective as possible. Use numbers wherever possible. Please work on LinkedIn. That is the most crucial aspect of a profile. You want to go for, you want to approach mentors, you want to read, want to enhance your knowledge, you want to gain certifications, collaborate with the right set of people. LinkedIn is a great platform. Or you're looking for a job, of course, it's an amazing platform for you to learn and to grow. Learn the basics and ins and outs of online meeting etiquette. That is the way it's going to be for a very long amount of time. And all these are the things that could really help you uh, move from your journey from campus to corporate, bridge that gap that we were talking about earlier. Your communication, your soft skills, your resume, your LinkedIn profile, and how adept you are with online tools and online meeting etiquette. And these are the things that could really help you ace. Very quickly, I'll take 2 to 3 minutes to answer any questions that you might have. And if in case you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me on my LinkedIn profile. Here is the link. And we are done with the session. So I'll take any questions that any of you might have at this point of time. Anyone, any questions?
Priyanka is asking if you can shed some light on the dress code, especially for women.
Okay, sure. I think formals work brilliantly well. A shirt, a formal shirt, and a coat. That's something very, very basic that you could follow. If you're not okay with that, you can even wear a salwar kameez. That's also okay for online interviews. That's also formal, as long as it's not flashy, simple, plain, and sober. Even sari works great. That's an Indian formal that you can wear. So you can have a formal suit, business suit, or a shirt, a formal shirt, and trousers. That's great. You want to don a coat on top of it, even better. One advice to all the ladies out there: don't overdo your makeup. Make sure it's simple, not too loud. No chunky earrings, studs are fine. And please don't open your hair, and make sure that and this applies to both males and females. Make sure that your hair does not fall on your forehead at all. So that is again one piece of advice I'd like to give to all of you. Make sure that your hair is clean, and if you're planning to open your hair, straighten it. That gives it a more formal and cleaner look. So that is one advice to all the males out there. Make sure that your hair is well groomed. Avoid stubbles. Not something that you could have stubbles once you enroll for the company, once you join the company, but have a clean shaven look. That is preferred. And of course, a formal shirt and a coat works brilliantly well. Avoid wearing black, and a lot of people are not aware of this rule. Reason being, black is the color which you're supposed to wear if you are the highest in the hierarchy. So it's the color that one should wear in the room if we said the highest designation. So refrain from wearing black. Use blue. Use probably a brown or a blue instead if you have that. There's nothing wrong, but ideally the one who should wear black, it's the color of someone who is the highest in the hierarchy. So if you can wear a blue or a brown or a gray, that works brilliantly well. And the same thing that could apply to females too. Anything else?
Um, Ma'am, if there will be any question that they finally think about a doubt or something and they want to reach out to you, I'll
Yeah,
be the medium, so you
sure.
can send. You can mail me. I'll include my mail ID in the comments. Ma'am, I'm sorry that we could not have a lot of enthusiastic people so that we could have a live GD. That was the plan.
Right.
So in case we get another opportunity to actually have a live GD and we can host that, I'll let you know.
Definitely.
Having said that, ma'am, I thoroughly enjoyed all the presentations that you gave. They were very uniquely designed, and of course, it takes a lot of effort. So what I'm going to do is I have the recording of this session. I'm going to edit it and upload it. And via YouTube, we will reach to a wider audience where we can share all the tips that you've given. That is the sole purpose behind this webinar. Uh, Before we close, ma'am, if you can quickly tell us that the registration deadline for ITM program, or anything, any information that students should know about the dates?
Right. So, thank you so much actually for organizing this webinar. It was brilliant talking to all of you. Uh, we are opening right now for admissions, and before 15th, if you register, you can appear for a scholarship test. Of course, if you register after that as well, you can appear for admissions. There's no, we would be continuing admissions for till July or even till August this month. But if you register before 15th of March, you will have a scholarship test, and the higher you score in your scholarship test, the more would be your chances of getting a fee waiver. That's what we offer to our students. So the good thing is that we have a lot of specializations. You think of a specialization and ITM has it. We don't just have marketing, finance, and HR, but we have financial markets, fintech, which is a combination of finance and technology, international business, retail marketing and management, business analytics, digital marketing. Reason being, the world is changing at a rapid pace and you need to keep up. So any specialization which is of your interest, choose that field, and we have that field. Again, one of the biggest USPs is the 5 month of internship program that we offer. A lot of colleges offer a 2 month or a 3 month, but ITM is the only institute that offers you a 5 month of internship program. And not just that, but you get so many opportunities to network with the right set of professionals, wherein you have a 2 week of NGO internship. Again, you have opportunities for live projects. Again, you can enroll for multiple live projects. So a student might feel that there is a person who has work X versus I'm a fresher, and what do I add in my resume. So these are the immense opportunities that you get for corporate exposure and for building your network. Three different opportunities to really load your resume and bridge that gap from point A to point B. That is one. And again, you get so many certifications plus international collaborations if you're a part of it. If you register before 15th, as I mentioned, you can enroll for the scholarship test. The format for admission selection criteria is that you need to have at least 50% in your graduation, followed by any of the entrance tests, CAT, MAT, ZAT, CMAT, any of that. And then of course there's a selection procedure wherein there's a personal interview round, as well as a mini presentation, that what you're required to give, and that's what will form a composite score, and that's what reserves your seat. Another thing that I could tell you is there are 5 campuses that we have, two of them being universities, one in Raipur, the other one is in Vadodara. The other 3 campuses, one is in Mumbai, then Warangal and Chennai. So you have the options of choosing the campus. Of course, Mumbai campus, which is in Navi Mumbai, is the flagship campus that you can be a part of. So think of all the opportunities that you could give. One advice to all of you as a trainer, a professor, uh, when you choose a college, do your research and do your A to S research. So when I say A to S research, what I mean is look at the alums who have passed out from the college, look at the companies that come to placement, look at the campus life, look at the exposure that you will get, the experiential learning that you get, the faculties that who's going to teach you, right? The exposure that you will get out of the college, the learning, the package, the placement, all these are very crucial aspects. The pedagogy, the curriculum. Again, one thing that I could tell you about our curriculum is that every year we have board of studies wherein we call corporates from the industry every year, and they look at our curriculum and they tell us what should we add, deduct, and minus from the curriculum. And that's a huge benefit that students have. Reason being, the corporates in the industry, they are aware of what is really going on, and once they look at the curriculum, they're telling us what is obsolete and what is it that we should not continue. So it's a great advantage. Everything that you study is keeping in line with trends and with the industry that you will be a part of. So that's a huge USP of ITM that we have here. And that's all that I'd like to share. I wish all of you the very best of luck. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to either me or Reed sir. He'll be more than glad to put that information out to me.
Ma'am, let's add that in the comments also. The way we can reach you, either an email or LinkedIn profile, anything like that.
So I will, what I'll do is I will put my email ID here. Also,
Perfect.
I will put my LinkedIn link if in case anyone wants to reach out to me via LinkedIn, I can put that.
Done, ma'am.
So here my official ID, it's sadafti at itm.edu. I'll also put my LinkedIn link just in case if you're not able to. Uh,
Thank you,
And
let's
ma'am.
actually have, if you could all please turn your video on. Let's have a picture at least. That way you will turn your videos on. If you could all please turn your videos on, we can have a group picture. So finally, now see picture ke naam pe everyone is turning their videos on.
There's-
I've also clicked. I'll share it on my LinkedIn very soon. So thank you all so much. It was great meeting and interacting with all of you. I wish all of you the very best of luck and do well. Feel free to reach out in case you have any questions. Please take care, be safe, and bye bye.